Hi guys, thanks for joining me. So we're in the spooky season and Halloween is quickly approaching, and I thought that I would take a moment to do a little tutorial on making a little batty. And the new template set that we've just brought out are the Batwings. These are in white. The template sets that we sell will be in black, and the reason that this is in white is that it will be easier for you to see the black wool if I'm using a white template, so that's why those are white. So the set that you will get will be in black. I'll quickly run through all of the tools and equipment that I'm going to be using, and then we'll hop straight in and start making our little batty project. I will be using my armature assistant, or one of the pieces of my armature assistant, and that's going to be for making the feet. So the armature assistant set is a set of 5 jigs which help you make armatures a lot more simply, and you get good even matching results. I will of course be using my foam mat. I've got my flat mat and my felt topper. Of course I've got my templates. I will be using my multi-handle and my multi-punch. I have my snippy scissors. My needles, as always, I will be using my 40 spiral, possibly my 38 spiral, and I doubt that my 36 star will get a look in, but it's there anyway. I have my pocket scale, and pocket scales are exceptionally good because it allows you to weigh out consistent results or consistent amount of wool for the template. So if you put 0.5 grams and then another 0.5 grams, you're going to end up with very consistent parts. The pocket scales can be found, they're on like eBay and Etsy. Just type in pocket scale and there's a whole array of them that you can choose from. I will be using our black fluff, and I think that's about it. And I'm going to be using probably a 22 gauge wire to make feet, maybe a 24 gauge if you're going to do the small one, but we'll talk about that once we get into the project. Please do pop a little thumbs up on the video, hit that subscribe button if you're not already. The little bell icon will notify you when we upload more videos. So with that out of the way, let's jump in and start making ourselves a little bat. So the first thing I'm going to quickly show you is how to make little feet or little claws, and this technique is exactly the same for any kind of little creature that you want to make these type of feet for. As I mentioned previously, I'm going to be using one of the armature assistant parts, and these are the 2 smallest parts, and they go up in sizes. So that's 5mm, that's 10mm, that's 15mm, and that's 20mm, and they obviously go up in 5mm increments right up to sort of 55mm. I'm going to show you making a foot using the 10mm section of the armature assistant, and this is part of a 5 template set, but if you've got the Douglas Fern project, then you've actually already got this armature assistant because it comes in the Douglas Fern kit. Okay, so what we're basically making are little feet with 3 toes. I've also got myself some black florist tape, which I'm going to be using to cover these. You could use woolen wax, but this is basically for speed. So what I'm going to do is I just start by giving myself a sort of a length of wire. So I'm giving myself probably, I think, about 5 centimeters. So that's 5 centimeters. And then all I'm going to do is bring this round 3 times. So 2, 3, like that. And then just twist off. and you've got this sort of little springy bit. Separate out your toes. I'm using a 22 gauge wire, and this is feeling decidedly stiff at this level, so I would probably recommend a 24 gauge. Grab your pliers and just squish your toes and just get, just crimp down those loops. And then what I would do is just give the toes a couple of twists just to help hold them in place. And obviously, if you twist your toes, then they will start being a bit shorter. So there we go. There's, you can see we've got 3 little toes there. I'm just going to open them out a little bit and just give them a little bit more of a twist. Just helps hold it in place. Oops. There. So that's given me 3 little toes like that. So I'm just going to open them out because that will make it easier to wrap the florist tape. And I am feeling that the 22 gauge is a really stiff wire for this, so you, as I mentioned, just go to a 24. To wrap the toes, I'm just going to get myself a little bit of florist tape, and florist tape you just pull and stretch and it activates the sticky on the tape so it will stick to itself. And what I'm going to do is start down here, roll the tape over and lock it on itself. Then we just need to cover these with a light covering of florist tape. So I'm going to go round and then bring it up and over till I go just past, and then bring it back. Like so. Then bring it round and go up the middle one and then back down. Then turn it, so I've just gone around the middle one, bring it back down and then come round that last toe just past the end and back down again, and then we're back to our centre. Like so, and just wrap that off up your wire. So it's a little bit messy, but that's okay, because with this florist tape, just give it a pinch and a twist, and it will help neaten everything up. And then you can use your pliers just to bring it round into shape. And you've got that little 3-toe claw. Just give it a little bit of a bend so it gets a little bit of a shape. And there you have it. There's 1 foot. And the nice thing about the Armature Assistant is that now you can completely recreate that in exactly the same size, because your loops of wire are consistent. So that's how you make a quick little foot. And if you've got green florist tape or brown florist tape or white florist tape, then you can absolutely do that. Maybe just colour it in with Sharpie if you don't have the black. So that's a little tip there as well. You can also, if you have a look on the YouTube channel, there is a video called Realistic Ratty Feet, and I show you how to make the little toes and then wrap them in wool and use felt as wax. So, but the florist tape and wire is a very, very quick way to get your little feet. So here are the 3 sizes of Batwing template that you get in the set, and I will quickly pop up on screen the weights and measures for each of the sizes. The weights and measures are available on the website. They're under the projects, infos and downloads link. There's another link called weights and measures, and that will give you the weight of wool that we recommend for all of the templates that we do. So it's a really handy quick reference guide if ever you need it. So that's all the weights and measures for each of the 3 sizes of template. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you sort of 2 projects in one, so to speak, and I'm going to be making the small batwing shape, and I don't think this guy's showing up too well on camera because he's all black, but I'm going to be making this in another colour. So I'm going to show you how to make your little batty, but in addition to that, I'm going to show you how to make this fab little bat pen topper as well. So the colours that I will be using, or the fluff that I will be using, will be different colour for video purposes. So I'm going to start by weighing out my 0.3 grams for the small template. And I say it all the time, but the weights and measures, they are a guide. So if you need to use a little pinch more or less, you can. As with all of the templates, we're going to do our points and edges first. So I'm going to be focusing on getting my really nice points. Pull off a little bit, fold it back over so you get that nice rolled edge. So just fold it back, and then that is what goes up into that point. And it just helps us start, because the fibres are automatically bending round that curve, or on that curve. That just helps us get a nice point. So again, another bit of fluff, fold back, pop it into the point, and very, very light. I'm using my lightest needle, my 40 spiral, and I'm barely touching the surface of my mat. You're going to get a few fibres stuck to your mat, but you just want to lay these fibres down really lightly at the moment. So another one, fold it back, up into that point. And whilst I'm putting in these points, I'm making sure that I've got a good amount of frizz behind that point, because we want all of this to overlap. And then coming down into that last point, oops, fold it back, up into that last point. Now, one of the things that all of the templates have are wiring holes. So you decide whether or not you want to reinforce your wing shapes with wires, and if that's the case, what I would suggest is that you don't want a really harsh wire, so something like a pipe cleaner may be suitable. I think you can get pipe cleaners in black as well. It's just fold your pipe cleaner, give yourself a little bit of a rounded end, and then the sort of shape that you're going to be going for squeeze, is something like that. You don't want to be too close to the ends and too close to the edges. You want a good amount of fibre all the way around. So something like that would be absolutely perfect. And you can lay down half of the fibre, then put your wire or your pipe cleaner in, then add a little bit more fibre or the other half of the fibre on top. Or you can make your wing, put the wire or pipe cleaner on the back, and then just use some extra fibre to cover over the pipe cleaner. So there's two ways of adding that to your project. If you are using a pipe cleaner or a wire, then you are going to want to add a little bit of extra wool to the weights and measures. Okay, so I've got my points in. I've got this little bit extra. I think I might need to add a little bit more. I'm not going to be wiring this particular little guy here, but if you were wanting to wire the small one, then what I would do for this particular size is just get yourself a little loop of wire at the top and put that down and just do a single like that. If you put a loop in, you don't really need to use glue, because you can use the fibres to hold it in place. But you know, you sort of want to go about that far. I'm not wiring this because I'm going to use this as the pen topper. So I'll put my last little bit of fluff in there. So everything is all nicely laid down in the template. You're looking for an even covering across the template. And again, very, very lightly. I'm just knitting these fibres to each other, not driving it into my mat. So I'm going to bring in my multi-needle, and again, very, very lightly. I'm just using that bouncing technique. So as soon as I feel the denseness of my flat mat, I'm stopping. I just want to knit these fibres to each other, just so they hold together when we take it out of the template. There we go. Okay, so for a first pass, I've got that, tickle it off the mat. And it looks a bit of a mess, but that's all right, because we can just pop that straight back down. Back into the template, back into those points. And now we can start firming this up. So I will come back in with my multi-needle. And this is what I call a compacting technique. So it's very, very light stabs, tiny little stabs, just using the first barb or two of the needle. Tiny little circular motions, but it really firms it up quite quickly. And you just work over every little bit of your project. And the more that this firms up, the less it will be inclined to stick to your surface. But the flat mat is particularly good for this because it's got a real density to it. Right, so there we go, second pass, and you can already see that the shape's holding a lot better. Back in, and again, all over again with that little compacting technique. Now once you've got it reasonably firm, you can just check that you haven't got any real thin spots. I might be inclined to just put a little bit more into that template. just a little pinch more, just down in this little bit here. So again, just laying it down very lightly and adding it in. Now, if you find that you do add significantly more wool to one of your templates, then weigh, once you've done it, you think, I'm happy with that, I like that, that's exactly what I want, then take this and weigh this, and whatever this weighs, that's what you want to use for your second wing. And that's when the pocket scale is absolutely invaluable, because you can make a part and weigh that one part and then just weigh the same wool out again. It's a really good consistent creation of parts, which is why it makes making things like leaves and petals, when you need lots of multiples. Okay, so there is our little wing. That's quite firm now, so what I'm going to do, grab my multi-punch and just put that out of the way. I'm going to knock the stuffing out of it, as I like to call it, and that is just really giving it some welly, and then that really flattens it out. But because we've taken the time to firm this up before we do this, it is going to mean that it's not going to stick to our to our surface very much. So it's a hot mess again, but that's okay. Back into the template, run it round with the single needle, just getting those fibres laid down again, and then that compacting technique just to help hold everything in place. So there we go. And there's our first little wing shape. What I would recommend that you do is just spend a little bit more time firming it up, a bit more than I have. But if you've got a pipe cleaner in it, or you've got a wire in it, then obviously just make sure that you're a little bit careful just going over it, particularly if you're using something like a multi-punch or a multi-tool. A single needle sometimes is the best way. So I'm just going to define those corners just a little bit more. There. So it's a little bit rough, but that's basically how you fill the template. So what I've made are two of the little wings, and I firmed this one up a little bit more off cam, and all I'm going to do now is just very, very lightly trim any excess real sort of frizzy bits. Now you have the option of ironing your wings if you want. It's just, you know, hot setting, steam, and just give them a press. Also remember that you want one wing that way and one wing that way. So there's my two wings. I'm going to pop those to one side. What I'm going to do now is weigh out for the little batty body, and I'm going to start with about 1 gram of the wool, which I'm going to weigh out my pocket scale here. Let's see, what's that? 0.3. That's about 1 gram. So as you can see, the pocket scale, you can weigh out, that's 0.13 of a gram. So you really can weigh out exceptionally small pieces of wool, which, you know, if you're doing a petal that's 0.5 of a gram. It makes it so much quicker. So I'm just going to take a second and just stack my fibres. So I'm just pulling them apart and stacking them so they're nice. I've got a good stack. Now what I want to do is create a sausage that is about 4 centimetres in length. So I'm just going to start by rolling it up, folding it in and rolling it up nice and tightly as you can. The tighter you roll this now, the less sort of refinement you have to do in getting a really, really tight core. So a few little stabs just to start holding that in place. I'm just going to check that I'm a little bit over. I'm closer to 5 centimetres, but that's okay. And what we're going to do is firm up. This bit I'm going to leave frizzy, this last sort of 10 mil, but this bit I'm really going to firm up. So I'm going to engage the multi-punch, and what I'm doing now is I'm not driving out into my mat, I'm just bouncing off the project and put it up on its end and just tap back that base. And this at the moment now is just creating a really good firm core. Like this. So that's firming up quite nicely. I'm just going to check my measurement again. Yep, so this bit is about 4 centimetres. This frizzy bit I'm not going to worry about too much. We're going to add and build onto this as well, because we want his body to be about, if you're doing a tiny little bat like this, for the pen topper, we actually want to make, this needs to be obviously bigger than the pen. So I will measure it once we finish creating our sort of our core body. So I'm going to be making this probably about 20 mil, but it needs to be really good and solid. So extra bit of time, just rolling and firming. And I'm getting a lot of it coming off up here, and that's fine. I'm just going to discard that. I want to keep this to about 4 centimetres, 40 mil. Anyway, it's when I start changing halfway through and I go from metric to imperial. That'll keep you on your toes just to confuse you. So that's really starting to firm up quite nicely. I'm just going to tap back that bottom bit. So we've got a good, starting to get a nice good sort of core cylindrical shape there. So I've weighed out about another 0.3 grams. So again, just taking a second to make this about 4 centimetres. I'm going to use my multi-punch and I'm just going to bounce over these fibres just to knit them together ever so lightly. Very, very lightly. As soon as I feel that flat mat, I'm stopping. All I want to do is just create a little sort of knitted sheet of fluff, because doing that will make it a lot easier to wrap this around here. It'll have some integrity to it, and there. we can just get another real tight wrap around. A few tacking stabs just to start holding it in place. And again, I've kept everything to that 4 centimetre. And then it's just back to firming this up. So what I will do, and just keeping that bottom bit neat, so what I will do is I'll speed up this little bit of footage, and then once we've got this really refined, we'll come back and then carry on attaching the head. There we go, that's quite firm now. I'm just going to roll it on the mat and then go over it a little bit more. And what I'm doing is as I said, I'm bouncing off of the project, so I'm felting to the centre of the project rather than trying to go through to the mat. And that's going to give me a really, really good tight shape. So there we go. There's our little batty body. It's about, let's move that. You can see it's about 20 centimetres. 20 centimetres. That's not, that'll be about this big. It's about 20 mil wide. I shouldn't be allowed to do the weights and measures verbally. I should just put them up on screen. It's about 20 mil wide, and there's my body. There's sort of like the hard part of the body that I've done, and that's sort of 4 centimetres long. So that's our body bit done. In order to do the head, I'm just going to leave that sort of frizzy bit there, because all of this sort of frizz is stuff that we'll use to attach the head to the body. You may have a completely different way of creating a cylinder like that, and there are lots of different ways of doing it, so you do whichever way works for you. The head, we are going to measure out about 0.3 grams of fluff, and I start the head by just making a ball shape. The way that I make a ball shape is I just bring everything into the middle, turn it into the middle, into the middle, into the middle, and you start to sort of make a bit of a sort of a wonton dumpling little packet type shape. A few little stabs just to start holding the fibres together, and that's all you want. Then roll it in your hands and it will start to ball up a little better. Now you can do this however you want from here on in. You can use a single needle. I'm going to use my multi-needle, and the trick is to just not stay on one side. Just felt it a little bit and turn it round, felt it a little bit and turn it round, and it will eventually start firming up. And once it starts, you know, you start to feel it firming up. Obviously do mind your fingers with a multi-needle. Once it starts firming up, back and roll it in the hands again. Give it some compression and you'll see that it'll start sort of tightening up. Oops. Off it goes. And we just want a loose sort of sphere like that. Now if we get our body, what we're going to do is just open out all of this fluff. Just gently pull it out so that you've got something that looks like that. Pop your little ball in amongst all of that loose fibre, and then again just a few stabs with your lightest needle just to start holding it in place. Pull all of this nice and tightly up over the top of the ball. Even just, you know, give it a little twist there just to hold it in place. And just get everything like so. And you can see we've got that little bit of a neck just there. So again, I'm just going to pull that tight, twist it off. Helps hold all those fibres. And again, I'm felting to the middle of the ball, not to my mat. There. And that just really helps get it all. And again, nice and light. Gets it all nicely nestled in place. So I'm just bouncing off of the project now. And what that's doing is that is just taking all of that frizz that was attached to the body and just getting it wrapped up around the head. Just go over the top a little bit. And nothing's terribly refined at the moment. We're just getting parts in place. You may want to make you know, make a piece that's this long and then refine the head rather than add it on. There's no wrong way, however you want to do this. It's, you know, I'm just mainly giving you for the sizes. So there we go. There's our head shape. And you just want that little bit of a taper just there. And it's right that this is a bit frizzy at the moment because we've still got things to attach up here. Okay, so I'm going to make his snout. And you just want to have a look around. You may find that one orientation leads itself to be the front of his head and one looks a little more naturally the back. So just give yourself a second and just rotate round. I'm going to use that as the back and this is the front, I think. I've weighed out, it's just under, so it's about 0.1 of a gram, and all I'm going to do is just sort of, let's see if I can do this without getting stuck to my fingers. I'm sort of going to bring it in and I'm going to fold it over and I'm going to roll it up, because you just want to create a bit of a nub. So here's my fibre, so I'm just going to bring it all in and then fold it over maybe a couple of times, I don't know. We're just starting to create a nub shape which we're going to refine down to give him a bit of a snout. And once you start dealing with very small pieces of wool, then it becomes a little more tricky. So I'm just going to roll that between my fingers, just help define the shape a little bit. It doesn't need to be very long. Just using that first barb on my needle, nice and light, just to start getting a bit of a shape. And my sort of nose is probably about 10 mil. And the nice thing about doing it this way is that, to be honest, if you muff it up, you can just pull it off and do a different one. That's one of the reasons why I like making things in bits, rather than sculpting from a whole thing. It's because if you do mess it up a bit, you can just pull his nose off and replace it with another one. So it doesn't look very bat-like at the moment, but it will, I promise. Again, I'm going to pull out that frizz at the bottom. So we've got a nice sort of circular bit of frizz. Slap it on his face, and it's going to go, that's the sort of profile. This bit is actually quite flat in terms of his head. And then the trick is just a few light stabs all round with your finest needle. And oh, he's got a bit of an upturned nose, he's a bit snooty. He's a snooty bat. And just have a look. I think, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, go round it a little bit more, light stabs. And you know, at the moment, if you go, oh, God, I've put it in completely the wrong place, what am I doing? Then just, you pull it off, because you've not really felted it firmly in place. Just be mindful that as you go round, then this may move ever so slightly. So always, you know, make sure you've got it where you want it, and work all the way round at the same time. Don't just fix it in one place. So I'm going to just work all round and just keep an eye on where everything's going. And now I'm using slightly more of the needle because I'm sort of attaching it. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm happy with this now. There. Come to the other side. There. And just use your needle. The wool will go the way that you point the needle. So if you want this bit of wool to go this way, then you see, I didn't actually want that, but for demo purposes. So just take your time. You haven't got to do it quickly. Just work out where you want your bits of wool to go. Now I'm just going to define the nose a little bit, and you don't want it pointy. It's not a beak, it's a snout. There. Give it a bit of a squish, and this is quite flat, so I'm quite happy about that. And if you look at it, you think, that's just not quite right, that's fine. Just go on and do the ears. And then I find the ears make a world of difference with this. So don't get hung up on this too much at the moment. We're going to add the ears, and then we can do a little bit more refinement to his face. There's a couple of ways that you can do the ears. I'm going to opt for the easy option. And I'm going to use the Batwing template to make his ears. So if you look there, that's quite a nice ear shape. There's an ear shape there, but I think that's a bit pointy. So I'm going to use this bit up here. Now, sometimes even the pocket scale won't measure out below 0.1 of a gram. I'm going to be using 0.05. The pocket scale won't necessarily weigh out 0.05. So what you do is you weigh out 0.1 and you rough it in half. And that's the easiest way to get 0.05. Again, I'm going to take just the top bit and turn it back, and then put that up into that edge, or up into that point, very, very lightly. I want to fill this part and leave a little bit of frizz in this part, because that frizz is how we attach. So just work all over it, pull the template, and that will release it from your mat. And then just keep it. There's one ear shape. In fact, it needs a little bit more. And take your time with it. So there's one batty ear. And here's my other 0.5. I'm just going to take a moment, stack my fibres so they're nice. Pull back that top bit. And like with the first one, just bring those fibres up into that area. And using part of a template for making little accents and extra bits, and there's lots of bits of templates, of various templates, that make great ears. So there's ear number 2. I think this one could do with just a touch more refinement. Obviously I am doing this as quick as I can. I think that will do it. So there's my 2 ears. See, now this one looks too loose. I'm just going to have to refine this one a little bit more as well. And you may think, oh, you know, the ears, they're a bit chunky. So just, you know, weigh out the 0.1 gram and, you know, break it into 3 even parts. But I'm quite happy with that. There's our little guy. So again, this frizz, separate it, just tease it both directions, because you want a good anchor all around the base of the ear. And again, like with the nose, just hold it in place. Just hold it in place. A few very, very light stabs, both sides, a little bit at the back, a little bit at the front, and just see if you like where it's going. And if you're happy with that, then felt a little bit harder. Let's give that ear a bit of a squish. Actually, I think I want to change it. I'm going to put it that way round and give him slightly bigger ears. He is a bat after all. So I'm going to put that ear that way. There you go. So it's not completely on yet, but it's almost there. And we'll do the same for the other side. Haven't got as much frizz on this one, so I might have to tease a bit out. There we go. And that's the nice thing about using the little parts of the template, is you're going to get fairly consistent results, you know, for making making little parts and little, you know, cheeks and ears and noses and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so there's my little batty. I'll just put his ears up a little bit more, so a little more upright. So I'm really going to felt this quite firmly now and just spend a minute going all over his head and ears. Front, back and sides, make sure that you get all of that additional frizz. And, you know, we're not looking necessarily for this to be hyper realistic. We're just looking at somebody looking at it and going, it's a bat. There. So there's a little shape. Obviously, once we get the wings on, that's when it really does go, you know, bat. Ta-da! I've got a little bit more frizz to deal with up there, but I'm not going to play with that too much on camera. I will sort that out a little bit later. Okay, so we've got our little batty head and our little batty snout and our little batty ears. We've got our little batty body. What I'm going to do is, obviously I did this in black, but I felted him in brown so it was easier to see on camera. I'll show you how to attach his feet. This foot is actually, I think, too big for this body. I think for this body, we should have used the 5mm armature assistant, which is that one there. But I'm not going to permanently attach this foot because we're going to turn him into the pen topper. But what I would do is give yourself a good bit. There's probably about 20mm there. Cripes, that shot off. So you've got a little bit of a foot and a little bit of a stick, and then grab an awl, and obviously also you will have 2 feet. Up inside at the front, just work your way up, and then oops, put your foot in into your hole that you've just made with your awl. You might want to cut a sort of a point, an angle on your wire, and it looks horrendous because it's not the right size foot. But you get the idea. And just little dot of glue, which I'm not going to touch. I'm not gluing anything. And you know, just leave the glue to dry, and that's how you attach your little batty feet. But we're not doing that. So let me pop my safety first. Pop my cork back on there. So here are our little bat wings. So again, make sure you've got the right orientation. And all we're going to do is attach them very lightly at the back. Just hold them in place. Turn him over and have a look. Make sure they're even. Yep, happy with that. Then go back in firmer with the stabs. In fact, I might just go up a needle to my 38 spiral. And again, felting to the middle of the project. You don't want to be coming out the front. So a nice attachment. Then grab a little bit of extra fluff, and you want to overlap the wings and the middle bit of the body, and not too much, but this sort of covering is really going to help hold those wings in place. Like so. I'm going to get my multi-punch for speed, just to go up and down that back. And then just refine it with that single needle. Now you'll probably go over it a little bit more and tame the frizz a bit more than I'm going to do on camera here, but there's your batty. Okay, so all we've got to do now for this is make him into a pen topper. Obviously, if you're going to be doing the feet thing, then let me get in a little bit of a close-up of this guy. You can put sort of legs, again that black doesn't show up very well, by driving a heavier needle in the middle, and then that sort of gives him little legs, and then you have the feet coming off of that. So that's how I would do that. However, we're not doing that. So I'm just gonna get my a minute and tease that back out. There we go. Okay, moment of truth. Your snippiest, smallest, snippiest, snippy scissors. And this is why we need this very, very firm. All we're going to do is nip, and I do mean nip, and just tiny, tiny increments. Just work your way up inside his little body until you have that there. And Bic pens are ace because they have this slopey bit which will help. So we just start it off with that, and you can see that it helps open it out. Then go to the other end and just see how far you can get with that, and then go back in like so. And this is just going back and forth between the end of your pen, the top of your pen, and your snippy scissors. So just hold its body, and you want to get it so that it fits snugly onto your pen. I mean, my pen is now up about there, so that's, I think, quite reasonable for a pen topper. You can get your little needle and just level out the bottom. I mean, this one's incredibly fluffy at the moment because I haven't really refined it, but I'm just tapping all over like that. and then just come in with your single needle. But obviously don't do too much work because you don't want to close up this hole that you're making. That's there. I think for the purposes of this, that will do. Right, you can, if you want, add some little beady eyes. That's always an option. Just, you know, poke a little hole and pop your little beady eyes in there. I haven't put eyes on any of these, so these guys, these bigger guys, they've got a tiny little tick of white, and he looks really surprised from that angle. So yeah, this one just has a tiny little touch of white, as does this one here. So, you know, there are numerous options of the things that you can do with this once you have decided which way you're going to go with this project. I mean, this guy, his legs are, you know, a little bit further hanging down from the body. So decide, you know, what sort of style you want, where you're going to go with it, what you're going to do with it. You can make these guys into keychains. There's all kinds of things that you can do with them, but they're a great fun little make. These guys have got wires in, and as you can see, you can really get some dramatic poses with the wires in. So they are such a great fun little make, and you know, they make great decorations as well. That's our little Batwing project, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. Please do consider putting a thumbs up on the video, and if you aren't already, please do subscribe to the channel, and if you hit that little bell icon, that'll notify you when we upload new videos. Don't be shy. If you are a needle felter, do come over and join us in our Facebook group. It's an absolutely bonkers group. It's great fun. There's just so many lovely people in there, and they're all completely fluff obsessed, and it is a great way to share pictures of your mum's Makery make. So please do come over and join us there. That's www.facebook.com/groups/mumsmakery. That's it from me on this particular project. I do hope that you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for spending your time with me, and I wish you all a very crafty day.